Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and the commodities and ETFs that I follow, and I'll give you my financial opinions. If you guys like this type of analysis and you want to know individual company names and how to play this next commodity bull market, you can check out the community at finding-value.com and use the word discount in the coupon code. So let's dive in. Let's take a look, and we'll start with the dollar, the DXY. And we can see the dollar is getting a little bit stronger today. So we came back down to this support level. It's a long-term support level. It's that white line going across right here. We gained support there, and we've been bouncing higher with the DXY. Again, generally speaking, the DXY increases when yields go up. Conversely, when yields go down, generally speaking, the dollar goes down. And really, it's the relative strength of the dollar against other currencies and their monetary policies. So the 2-year yield today was flat. It's 0.07%, and we do have a wick at the top. So I put this in a while back that we could have perhaps a shoulder head shoulder developing. We're putting in that right shoulder, and are we going to get a pullback in the markets where we see rates pull back? I think that's still a possibility, and it could happen. Could happen very quickly here with the wick at the top, which is generally a reversal candlestick. So we're getting a little bit of selling pressure up here. We're getting a momentum reversal, and we could see this head lower potentially for the short-term yields. The 10-year is already starting to make that turn. This is a bearish piercing pattern where it gaps up in the morning and then the momentum heads lower and generally works its way back down in the short term. So we could see a reversal here in yields. And the 30-year is also putting in a bearish engulfing, bearish piercing pattern where we could head lower in the short term. So generally speaking, when we see reversals in interest rates, we could also see gold firm up here and precious metals if yields head lower. So that's something to look for in the short term. If I were a betting man, I would bet that yields would go down in the short term and that precious metals would probably try to do a reversal here. The TYX-TNX ratio putting in a reversal pattern that looks like it may go higher. That is positive for precious metals prices. And then bond prices are also putting in a reversal pattern here. That is a bullish piercing pattern where we could see a reversal in bond prices. So bond prices go up, yields go down, and that tells us a little bit of perhaps the direction of where some of these commodities could go. So gold putting in what looks to me like it's trying to put in a little bottom here. We've got a hammer candlestick. That's generally a reversal pattern. The momentum's coming back up. I think that we could see a move higher in gold. Now, this is only going to be good for a couple of days. We'll have to continue to monitor to see what the markets do, but I think we're going to try to get a bounce here. Silver's doing the same thing. We got a nice little wick at the bottom. The momentum is heading towards the upside, and we'll probably see a bounce in the short term. How big and how long that bounce will be up to the markets to determine. Platinum also, platinum getting a little bit more selling pressure, ending a little bit more weaker here than the other crew, but we're up against support. XAU to gold ratio down a little bit today, down 0.7.5% or so, 0.7 something percent. If it decides to come up, there we go. So we're coming down a little bit in this XAU to gold ratio. But we're still below this big long-term trend line. So we're right underneath it. We want to break above it. That is the go signal for gold and silver stocks, meaning that we're going to see an outperformance. I think that will happen with an increasing price of gold. So if gold goes up, I think we'll see this ratio work its way to the upside if we're at that time or at that period. CRB index, slightly lower. We're basically moving sideways these past trading sessions, for the past week even. We'll see where we go there. CRB to S&P 500, this looks like it could go higher. We're putting in a bullish engulfing candlestick, and we're at that 0.618 fib retracement level almost. So we're right in that general vicinity where we could potentially bottom. GDX, that is right up against that support resistance level. It does look like it wants to head lower, though, in the short term on a monthly candlestick. On the dailies, we do not have a reversal candlestick yet, but that could also be waiting for gold to give us the move higher. GDXJ right on support. There it is on support, and we'll see if that support holds. We've got SILJ also down a little bit. It is back within the pattern again, but it does look like it wants to try to move on up here with the candlestick opening and closing prices coming to a bottom here. Crude oil heading higher, up 1.5%. We'll see if we can kind of break out of this little pattern here, which we're doing. We'll see how sustaining that is, but it does, to me, look positive for a move higher in crude oil. One thing to look at, though, is we want to see how crude oil does in relationship to yields. If yields start to drop down, that generally is a headwind for crude oil. So just keep that in mind. Natural gas down a little bit, 2.33%, still basing out to the sideways motion. XOP, yeah, you know me. Momentum's coming back down. I think that's sniffing out those yields that are ready to come back down. That's my guess, and we're still within this big pattern. OIH doing the same thing, a little bit of selling pressure, and we could do a reversal kind of retest there before heading higher. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, it is pulling back inside the pattern. We have not broken out of this freaking pattern yet, but we still have a little bit more to go, it looks like. URNM also down a little bit. We have not broken that pattern yet. Still looks good. Bloody nose, that's generally a continuation pattern to the upside. A bloody nose is a small red candlestick next to a large green one, and it's usually a profit-taking day that doesn't disrupt the momentum to the upside. URNJ, another bloody nose that looks like we could potentially head higher. So the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust looking a little bit more weak than the actual equities do. Looking at TAN, TAN is still in its pattern, moving sideways, right on support. COPX selling off a little bit more. This does look bearish where we could head lower in copper and the copper mining stocks. So I expect that to continue lower. We're still in the pattern for lithium. We're still in the pattern for REMX as well. So we're still going out to the tips of these patterns on a lot of different sectors. We're still consolidating. The S&P 500 down 1.12%. We have not gotten a breakout of this, and it looks to me like we could head lower in the short term. Same with the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ kind of broke out here. We're going to see where this thing goes, but it does look like it wants to go lower in the short term. Emerging markets down 1.55%. That does look like it may want to head lower in the short term. It finished quite strong. XHB also looking like it wants to head lower in the short term. We're getting a little bit more selling pressure and a little bit more momentum in that selling pressure the last 3 trading sessions. MU, again, I think we're heading lower in MU. We're coming back here to the low 70s. Copper still showing weakness, and I do think that we could extend that weakness to the downside, looking at these candlesticks, breaking through that support level, and we could see further downside pressure. Iron ore also just moving sideways. I do think we're at a good spot for a good support area. Nickel also moving lower, and I do think that could potentially head lower with copper. These base metals definitely can head lower with copper. Aluminum looks like it wants to head lower as well. Here's the dailies down 2% today. There it is. And you can see the large selling pressure and then another rollover. We could also be basing out here along the support level as well. Baltic Dry Index down a little bit, but I do think it will grind higher eventually. We've got Newcastle Coal. That's lower, but it's going to base out in this general vicinity down here. Above support is my guess. Ethereum up a little bit, and that does look like it wants to go higher along with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and Ethereum both have these inverted head and shoulders, a breakout, and it will eventually work its way higher. So that's what we've got for today, guys. That's the markets going over them kind of quickly. Things are looking a little bit weak on the base metal side. That's for sure. We can see further downside there. Oil actually looks pretty good. Natural gas is basing out sideways. Uranium equities look good, but the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust still kind of going out to the tip of that pattern. And precious metals, I would say, look the best of the group because of where yields could potentially fall. So that's the one that I think could go up here in the short term with the highest probability of what I've seen looking at history. So if you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you guys like, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.